Yes, once we have the videos on, you'll have quorum.
Thanks. Are there any LOAs for this evening, or
I'm just checking. We had you, but you're here, and Councillor Fry from 6 to 7. And then the rest of council appear to be virtual, although I don't think we have everybody yet.
Okay. I just know once we actually start an item, people can't vote unless. So let's start.
Okay, over to you.
Thanks. I'm now going to call the public hearing of June 23rd, 2022 to order. This meeting is convened by electronic means. Council members, please make sure your video is turned on and let the clerk know if you leave the meeting for the purposes of confirming quorum. You must enable your video to confirm quorum, and if your video is turned off, you'll be marked as absent for that portion of the meeting. If you lose connection, we'll recess until the connection is restored, but you have to let us know if that occurs. Public can view this on live stream or the YouTube link, which is on our Twitter feed at Vancity Clerk. As always, we acknowledge we're on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and we thank them for their generosity as we work together in partnership to create a true city of reconciliation. And of course, as always, thanks to staff for all your amazing work. Let's move the roll call, please, Clerk.
Sorry, my microphone was acting up. Mayor Stewart in the chair. Councillor Carr.
Here.
Councillor DiGenova.
Present.
Councillor Fry has a leave of absence from 6 to 7 for personal reasons. And Councillor Swanson.
Here.
Councillor Hardwick.
Present.
Councillor Wiebe.
Present.
Councillor Boyle.
Present.
Councillor Dominato. Councillor Bly.
Present.
Councillor Kirby-Yung. The hearing has quorum, Mayor Stewart.
Thanks so much, clerks. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to go through my list here. Great. So just in terms of public participation, public may participate by speaking over the phone, submitting written comments, or coming to council to speak in person. You have 5 minutes to speak and make your comment. Let us know whether you support the report or oppose the report, and whether or not you're a resident of Vancouver. Speakers should only speak once, may only speak once, and should follow along on Twitter at Vancity Clerk for updates on the progress of the meeting, so you don't miss your turn. Of course, you always have a chance at the end. I'll call 3 times for speakers, so there'll always be an opportunity to speak until we close the speakers list. Any comments on the agenda items can be submitted in writing through our online web form at vancouver.ca/public-hearing-comments, and that link, and also on Twitter. We have a long-standing respect for diversity and inclusion, and especially for all genders. So we're avoiding using gendered honorifics and instead refer to the people by first, last name, role, or title. We're in a quasi-judicial setting tonight, which means we're only considering the merits of the rezoning application or heritage designation. So we can ask clarifying questions from speakers, but we should save our debate or comments until after the close of the speakers list. Our options are approve the application, refuse the application, or refer it back to staff for future consideration. And if we don't hear everything tonight, we will come back on June 29th at 6 p.m. So the first item is a heritage designation on 365 Railway Street, the Fleck Brothers Warehouse. And I'm going to ask the clerks to read the summary correspondence and application, and just remind folks, if you have a conflict on any of these items, please let us know before we begin the proceedings. Over to you, clerks.
This is an application by Allied REIT
To add to the Vancouver Heritage Register in the C evaluation category and to bring forward for enactment a bylaw for designation of the retained heritage facades as per the draft designation bylaw of the existing building at 365 Railway Street, also known as Fleck Brothers Warehouse, as protected heritage property. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability, in consultation with the Director of Legal Services, recommends approval. No correspondence has been received on this application since it was scheduled for public hearing and up to 5 p.m. today.
Great, thank you so much. Just a reminder for the public that if you want to speak to this item, the number is 1-833-353-8610, code 106-1445 #. Council, there are no speakers to this item. We do have Eli Sabadlan here, a heritage planner, to present, but
Move to waive the
Move
presentation.
to waive the presentation.
if nobody objects, we'll move on and hear it. But if any counselor wants to see the presentation, just let me know and we'll proceed. Okay, I don't hear anybody, so I'm going to ask now if the applicant team is here to speak to the application. Clerks, do you know if we have the applicant team here?
Yes, Mayor Stewart, they're just coming forward.
Okay, great. Thank you.
From Perkins and Will, but they are also willing to waive their presentation.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go. Sorry, Council, I don't have my panel up yet, but perhaps the clerks will assist me. Clerks, anybody have any questions at this point? It's to the staff or the applicants. Anybody on the queue? I'm just pulling up my.
There's no one on the queue at the moment.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, and so since that's the case, I'm going to make our first call for speakers since we have none recorded, and the number to call is 1-833-353-8610, code 106-1445 #. First call, anybody in the chambers or on the line to speak to this, clerks?
I see no one in the chamber, and we have no one on the line.
Great. I'll make the ridiculous second call for speakers. Anybody online or in the chambers in the last 30 seconds?
No and no.
Okay. Third call, Council. It is 6:08. We'll come back at 6:13 to make see if there's any speakers, and then to finish this item. We'll see you in or in the chambers?
I see no one in the chamber, and I'm just checking. No one for, yes, no one on the line.
Move the recommendations, Mayor.
Just going to go through closing comments first, but I'll keep that in mind. Staff have any closing comments?
We have no closing comments. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Applicant have any closing comments?
There's none as well.
Okay, great. Thanks. I don't see any questions for staff, so thank you, Councillor Kirby-Young, for moving. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't catch who that
Was
was.
Hardwick.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Hardwick. Any debate? I'll just flip this over to a debate queue. Comments or debate? I don't see anybody on the queue for that, so I'll move this to a vote, please.
Board Assist in favor, please.
Thank you, Councillor Weeb. In favor, please, clerks.
And this is Councillor Bly. Vote assist in favor, please.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bly. Looking for Councillor Dominato, but I think she may be absent. Just remember, councillors, you have to be video enabled in order to vote. There we go. Thank you. So that does pass unanimously. Thank you so much, Council. And now we're on to item 2. This is a text amendment for 500 West 57th Avenue, Pearson Dogwood. Going to ask first, any conflicts on this one? If not, we'll have the clerk read the application and summary of correspondence.
This is an application by IBI Group Incorporated to amend CD 1696 for 500 to 650 West 57th Avenue, Pearson Dogwood, to permit additional rental housing floor area, which would include 216 market rental units and 99 below market rental units. Height increases ranging from 2.0 meters to 28 meters, and a floor space ratio of 3.08 are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions as set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing. 1 piece of correspondence in support and 1 piece in opposition. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thanks very much. Any speakers on this one? 1-833-353-8610, code 1061445#. That's available on Twitter and the live stream. We have Tiffany Rougeau from the Rezoning Center here to speak to this application that has 15 slides. Staff, Council, there are no speakers to this. So at this point, if anybody would like to see the application or see the presentation, we can do it. Otherwise, we can just move on to speakers.
Move to waive the presentation.
Okay, I don't hear any objections, so I won't call a vote. I will just move on, as I haven't heard any objections, and we'll ask if the applicant team is here to speak to the application.
Your Worship, this is Rodney Rao from the applicant team, and we're here to, along with my design team, answer any questions that anyone might have. Okay, did you want to present anything, or are you just happy to answer? We'll waive the ability to make a presentation, and we'll see if anyone has any questions. Great. Council, this is your opportunity to ask questions to staff or the applicant team. No one has any questions. I have a couple.
I get on the list for questions, Mayor.
Yeah, you go first. Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, my first question is recognizing the phasing to deal with the current tenants of the area. Can you speak to how this report in front of us today will still support the current residents to ensure the accessibility needs are being taken care of?
The text amendment before you this evening will not affect change or impact any of the VCH supportive units that were previously approved in 2017. The phasing has not changed. The only thing that has changed as part of this text amendment is that in the first phase, there were 2 buildings that were originally approved as strata. This text amendment is proposing to convert those to rental housing, which includes below market housing. Beyond that, the phasing has not changed from 2017.
So the main difference is just we're seeing more rental and then the density to make up for that rental.
Correct. It's an opportunity to deliver market and below market rental in an earlier phase of the development, where the strata will now be delivered in much later phases of the development.
Okay, thank you very much. That's helpful.
Thanks. I have a question to the applicant, and I'll just put myself on the queue here. Just the applicant, is there any reason you didn't seek additional density beyond what you have proposed here?
Mayor, this is from Ani Group. I think I can answer this question if that's all right with Rodney. This application was submitted. See, that was passed. I believe it was in the summer.
Just 1 second. You are breaking up a bit, your audio, and let's just want to make sure we can hear you. Can you just test your sound there for a sec?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can, yeah. Go ahead. Thanks.
My apologies. Sorry. So this was Duncan Wlodarczyk. I'm with Ani Group, the applicant. Just in response to your question, this application was submitted under a policy that was passed by this mayor and council. I believe it was summer-ish of 2019, which asked staff had put forward for 3 large sites. I think it was Oak Ridge and OTC were the other ones, to explore additional density if it included moderate income rental housing. There was a limit to the density, or the limit to the square feet that was in that. It was, again, roughly what this application was focused on. And so that was why we submitted the application, was based on that policy that was passed. And so that's where we kind of worked with staff based on what was provided within that policy context.
Okay, thanks. So I have a question to staff about whether or not there exists a possibility to explore additional density as to what's being proposed here.
Yes, so as the applicant mentioned, the July 2019 issues report for rezone large site allows additional density to support delivery of rental and below market rental housing. Through this, staff completed a comprehensive review as part of the rezoning process to understand the potential impacts of the additional rental density on planned utility upgrades, groundwater, transportation networks. This also included an evaluation of potential implications for public amenities, as the consideration of additional density for moderate income rental housing may limit opportunities to address other public benefit needs. So the application does align with the issues report, and staff did work with the applicant to maximize the potential for below market units through this application. Now, should council choose to have staff explore increasing the proposed rental housing floor area on site, it would result in pulling this application from the agenda this evening, and a revised application would need to proceed through the rezoning application process, which includes public consultation, and likely would not be able to return to public hearing this year.
Okay, so I hope the applicant heard all that. Is the applicant interested at all in exploring extra density on the site? Just hearing what the staff has said at this stage.
Duncan Wlodarczyk from Ani here again. I think as it relates to this application, we're very pleased with how we've been able to work with staff on accommodating this additional density on the site, particularly its ability to deliver this moderate income rental housing. So, we're certainly here to say that we're pleased with this application and want to move forward with it. If an opportunity came up down the road through some other context to explore other density, that would, of course, be in line with the city's housing strategy, moderate income, affordable housing, rental housing, we'd certainly be open and willing to explore that with mayor and council, with staff, and with the community. Given the current policy context, I think we're happy with where this application has landed, and so certainly want to move forward, but are open to a conversation if that were possible later on.
Okay, that satisfies my curiosity on this one. I was kind of looking for the potential for extra rental density, especially if it's moderate income units, but I understand that you want to move ahead with this project. So thanks for the response. And I'm going to move on to Councillor Kirby-Yung now. Questions to the applicant or staff?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. My question is to the applicant, and I'm actually just curious to know kind of what the driving factor was in the decision or choice to switch from strata to rental. What factors weighed into that decision or made that a desirable path for the applicant?
I can take this one again, Duncan from Ani Group, and my colleague Rodney can jump in to correct anything. But I think a clarification is it's not so. It wasn't a switch from strata density, for lack of a better phrase, to rental moderate income, but rather additional density where we shifted the existing strata density elsewhere within the project in conjunction with staff.
You are cutting up still. I don't know if you're close to your microphone.
Design principles and what have you, and then landed the additional rental density. My Wi-Fi at home. Can you hear me okay now, Councillor?
No, you did break up actually. So maybe try it one more time, and if not, maybe another team member can answer.
Okay.
No, you are frozen again. Is there another?
If you can't hear me now, maybe Rodney. Yeah, I believe you know the answer to this, but.
Point of privilege?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Duncan. I can answer this, Councillor.
Just 1 second, Speaker. We have a point of privilege from Councillor Dejanova.
Can you pause my timer, please, Mayor? Thanks.
Go ahead, Councillor Dejanova.
I also couldn't hear, but my point of privilege was I could hear when the applicant turned off their video. So I don't think we have rules for them that their video has to be on, if that's helpful.
Thanks. We have a respondent. Please go ahead, the applicant team, continue with your discussion there.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just going to answer or just relay what Duncan was saying, is that the rental density is being front-loaded onto the site right now, and is in the market density will be shifted onto later phases of the site as we progress through the build-out of the different parcels.
Okay, maybe because I missed part of Duncan's response, you can add some clarity for me, because I was responding to sort of how staff had phrased it when they sort of termed, and I'm paraphrasing, the sort of switch to rental. And I appreciate the piece about phasing, but this is additional density. So there was a switch of tenure, if you will, and an increase in density. So I'm just looking for some context or perspective as to, since you had an approval on the site, why you chose to pursue this direction.
Well, this was tabled, and we took a look at it. We understand that there's a lack of current rental product in the marketplace, and we wanted to take an opportunity to deliver some much needed rental. And if we're able to push off some of the market density into later phases, I mean, this is an opportune time for us to do something like that.
Okay, and how is the, I mean, I'm reading through this report here. It says 216 market rental units and 99 below market units. That's a substantive amount. So how is that achieved? Anybody for the applicant?
Sorry, this is Dan from Ani. Is this my audio working better now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I guess if I could ask a clarifying question, Councillor Kirby-Yung, when you say how is that achieved?
Yeah, I'm just looking.
In what
Sorry, I'm
sense?
finding this. It's quite difficult with the differences in sound and sort of the back and forth. Do you want us to? I'll go off the queue for now. Sorry, it's not. It's challenging to hear you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for questions to the applicant, and we don't have questions from council. We don't have any registered speakers, so I'm going to have my first call for speakers. 1-833-353-8610, code 106-1445 #. That's the first call. Clerks, anybody on the line or in the council chambers?
No one in the chamber, just checking.
Okay.
No.
Great, thanks. We'll make the second call. The numbers on Twitter and a live stream. Anybody slip into council chambers in the last 17 seconds?
There is no one in the chamber. I believe we have a speaker on the line. Yes, we do.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, speaker, up to 5 minutes. Just let us know your
Mr.
name.
Mayor?
Oh, hi,
Yeah,
is this
it's Nathan
Davidovic?
Davidovich.
Oh, great. Okay, you have up to 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I presume this is again a Vision Council initiated project that went the wrong way. Selling public land. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I thought there was something there in the background. Anyhow, selling public land is not a good idea, but that's what Vancouver Coastal Health did. And Vision Council did not want to buy the land. Even the West Vancouver Conservative Council bought the land from the Vancouver Coastal Health in West Vancouver, and now they are building housing for City Hall employees in West Vancouver. Same thing should have been done here, but it's too late now. So, there is no mention in the report about the $20 million contribution that the developer was supposed to pay toward the 57th Avenue SkyTrain station. And I've talked about that before, and nobody seems to know what's going on about that. But and the report doesn't say anything at all about the SkyTrain station and the bus route that was promised to us by former Mayor Mike Harcourt on 57th Avenue, going west and going east. There's no mention of that. So it's another missed opportunity of fixing our transportation system, and I don't know what this council can do unless you want to copy Richmond Council and levy money on all the development around 57th and Cambie, like Richmond did for the new Capstan station that's being built right now on the Canada line. But it's a long-term project that will take years. And we have the same problem at 33rd Avenue too, and we just approved the header land without any contribution.
So, can we stick to this? Can we just stick to this application?
Yeah. I'm just saying about the transportation on the Canada line and the problems that we're going to have, or future generations is going to have, of not enough transportation and not enough stations in Vancouver. And as I said, I don't know what the council can do. TransLink announced today that they're going into the real estate business. I presume they're copying the Bill 16 of the.
I'm going to get you to stick to this. I'm going to get you to stick to this.
Well, maybe they, that's part of the deal. Maybe they can finance the 57th Avenue station with the new real estate company that they are proposing. So somebody has to find out the details. So yeah.
So anything else on?
It's very sad. Yeah, it's very sad that there's nothing happening on transit. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. I don't see any questions for you, but we'll thank you for calling in. Council, I am going to call now a third time for speakers on this item. It is 6:33, so we'll come back at 6:38 to see if there's any more speakers. Thank you. Okay, clerks, just trying to pull everybody back here. Get folks to turn their videos on, and I will check with the clerks if there's anyone else in the chambers or online.
There is no one in the chamber, Mayor Stewart, and we have no one on the line.
Great, thanks so much. So we'll close the speakers list, and since there's no public comments, we'll close the receipt of public comments. I'll ask the applicant if you have any closing comments.
Your worship, we don't have any closing comments.
Thanks. Staff have any closing comments?
No closing comments from staff. Thank you.
Great. Any questions? I see you on the list, Councillor Dejanova. Do you have questions?
Just prepared to move the recommendations.
Thanks so much. Second, Councillor Kirby-Yung. Thank you. I'll just move us over to debate queue. Any debate on this? Sorry, here we go. Councillor Dejanova, you want to speak to this?
Just very briefly, I really wanted to thank our staff and the applicant for working together to bring back secured market rental in lieu of strata. Watching this project over the 2 terms that I've been on city council and understanding that it's been a very long and complicated process with extra layers of I suppose, complexity, considering the relocation of, medically fragile patients, as well as others some of them have spent their entire lives living on site at George Pearson Dogwood facility. And being a former liaison to Persons with Disabilities Committee, also understanding, what the applicant has undertaken and our staff also in making sure that input from that committee and from the public, as well as, the former patients of the Pearson Dogwood site was included and incorporated. I just wanted to applaud that and say that I'm looking forward to seeing this move forward. As some of my colleagues have said, I hope that we've been able to maximize the density possible, because there are many people that would love to live in affordable rental in this neighborhood, and especially on this site. But I can see why you want to move forward at this point, and appreciate all of the extra work that you've undertaken, to transform this into a property that's truly inclusive, and I know will honor those people also who lived at Pearson Dogwood. So I'll leave my comments there. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I don't see anybody else in the queue for debate, so I will call the vote on this one.
Vote is in favor.
Thank you, Councillor Weeb. There we go. That passes with none in opposition. Thank you so much, Council. We're going on to the next item. Item number 3, rezoning on 524 Granville Street. Again, if you have a conflict, please declare it now. Clerks, if you can read the application and summary correspondence, that would be great.
This is an application by Perkins & Will Canada Architects to rezone 524 to 526 Granville Street from Downtown District to Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 24-story strata-titled commercial office building. A height of 97.4 meters and a floor space ratio of 21.5 are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing. 6 pieces of correspondence in support. This represents all correspondence received to 5 p.m. today.
Thanks very much, clerks. Just looking at the list, and we don't have any speakers for this item. We do have Nick Danford here from the Rezoning Center, but as we have no speakers, we can move right on to hearing from the applicant unless somebody on council would like to see their presentation.
Move to waive the presentation.
Okay, I don't hear anybody objecting, so I'm going to move on now to ask if the applicant team is here to speak the application.
Mayor Stewart, it's Ryan Bragg from Perkins & Will, and we're quite happy to waive our presentation as well.
Great, okay, thanks very much. So council, now is your chance to ask questions to the applicant team or staff. Just put yourself on the queue if you'd like to do that. I don't see anybody on the queue, so and there's no one on the speakers list. 1-833-353-8610, code 106-1445 is the number and code. Clerks, this is my first call.
Mayor, I'm on the speakers list, Swanson.
You wanted to ask questions?
I wanted to ask the applicant. I wanted to ask staff a question.
Ask staff a question.
Yeah.
Okay. You do have an opportunity after we do the speakers calls. Can you wait till then?
Sure.
Okay, great, thanks. I'll put you back on after that. So clerks, anybody in the chambers or in the online for this one?
No and no.
Okay, thanks. And this we'll make a second call now. Same question. Anybody in the chambers are on the line?
No and no.
Thank you. Council, we're at 6:42. 6:43. We'll be back at 6:48 to make the third call, and Councillor Swanson will be able to ask her question to staff. So I will see you at 6:48. Let's get you to turn your cameras back on if you can. I'm just going to ask the clerk, after the third call, was anybody online or in chambers for this item?
We have no one in the chamber, and I'm just checking about online, and no.
Great. Okay, I'm just going to ask the applicant if the applicant has any closing comments.
Thank you, Mayor Stewart. We have no comments. Thank you.
Thanks. Staff have any closing comments?
No closing comments from staff. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Swanson, go ahead with questions to staff. You're on mute.
There, sorry.
No problem.
So I'm just looking at the public benefits for this. It's total of DCL's, ART, and CAC's is about 5.6 million for a 24-story strata commercial office. So this seems really low to me. We've approved a bunch of residential towers where we were getting like 30 million in public benefits. So I'm wondering if someone can explain why the public benefit amount is so low.
Right. Thanks for the question, Councillor Swanson. So the public benefits was generated through a negotiated CAC process. So the applicant has proposed a strata-titled office building, and so that negotiated process yielded a $2.8 million cash CAC. And then there was also recognition of the heritage contribution with the facades. So that was valued at $2.6 million. So that's where the bulk of the CACs come from. And then the standard DCL rates have been attributed to the development.
So the total isn't 5.6, it's about 8.4, so you're saying?
If you count the value of the heritage contribution, yes.
That's still really low compared to the residential towers. And it's strata too.
Yeah, so that's the outcome of the CAC negotiation.
Councillor Harwood?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. I don't see anybody else on the queue to ask questions. Sorry, I can't seem to get my mouse to work here. So with that, we'll need somebody to move the application, please.
Councillor Kirby-Young.
Councillor Kirby-Young, thank you. Councillor Dejanova, I heard second. That's fine. Any debate on this item? Put yourself in the queue if there's any debate. I don't see anybody on the queue, so we can move to a vote on this item.
Just in favor.
Thank you. Councillor Wiebe. In favor, please. Clerks. Councillor Swanson. That has passed with Councillor Hardwick in opposition. Thank you so much, Council. Just supposed to remind everybody, we have this in the script now, that as we go forward, the video is disabled. We'll be marking you absent for the vote, subject to section 14.13. I don't see anybody off camera at the moment, but we have some concern about that, so I will be prompting council every once in a while to make sure that your videos are on, even if everybody's videos are on. So I'm just following the script. Thanks so much. So, council, we're on to 4, which is the CD1 rezoning on Malkin Avenue and Station Street. Again, if you have a conflict, please let us know and why, and otherwise we're going to get the clerk to read the application now.
This is an application by Frankel Architecture to amend CD1 bylaw number 12833 for 1002 Station Street and 250 to 310 Prior Street, and to rezone 450 to 460 Prior Street, 550 Malkin Avenue, and to rezone 450 to 460 Prior Street, 550 Malkin Avenue from I-3 District, 496 Prior Street from I-2 District, and 1002 Station from Comprehensive Development District to a new Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of two 19-story mixed-use buildings containing commercial space, cultural amenity space, and a secured market rental residential unit. A height of 64 meters and a floor space ratio of 4.68 are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing. 85 pieces of correspondence in support, 7 pieces of correspondence in opposition, and 1 piece of correspondence dealing with other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thanks so much. We do have a lot of speakers this, or a number of speakers, Council, so let's proceed with the presentation from Liefke Vissers from the Rezoning Center. "11 speakers, Council, registered. Go ahead, clerks, planning staff, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Liefke Vissers, rezoning planner for the rezoning application at 450 to 496 Prior Street, 550 Malkin Avenue, and 1002 Station Street. The subject site is 2.4 acres in size. Portions of the site are currently zoned I2, I3, and CD1 respectively. This rezoning is located on the south of Prior Street, west of Malkin, and north of the future St. Paul's campus. This project will provide road dedications on all 4 frontages. The dedications are needed to achieve the transportation network for the new St. Paul's campus, including access to emergency ambulance entrance, which was confirmed by Council in October of 2019. This ambulance access is critical to the function of the regional health facility. Currently, on site are a warehouse and a building which formerly housed White Monkey Studios. The majority of the subject site is owned by Strand Development Corporation, with the northeast portion of the site owned by the city and the southeast portion owned by Providence Healthcare. Consolidation of this site is listed in Appendix B as a condition of rezoning. The application proposes 2 buildings with a central publicly accessible courtyard. The False Creek Flats plan had designated a new Road A to the south of this site as an arterial, in which case this site would have served as a transition from the arterial to the residential homes to the north. However, in October of 2019, Council voted to retain Prior Street as the arterial. As such, this change resulted in the site falling on the south side of the arterial. This change, along with the revised massing of St. Paul's campus, resulted in a new context. There are a number of amenities in the area, including parks, an elementary school, childcare centers, and 2 community centers. The area is well served by SkyTrain and rapid bus lines, as well as bicycle infrastructure. This site falls within the False Creek Flats area plan, which prioritized employment-generating space. The plan enables up to 2 FSR of rental residential on this site, conditional on the delivery of 1 FSR of employment-generating space. This application proposes a higher ratio of employment-generating space to residential space, supportive of the plan objectives to prioritize employment uses in this area. The rezoning policy and guidelines for the False Creek Flats enables density of up to 3 FSR and a height of 100 feet or 30.5 meters. The application is subject to the requirements of the rezoning policy for sustainable large sites and proposes 3 food assets as well as sustainable site design, access to nature, green mobility, rainwater management, and zero waste. In lieu of the affordable housing requirement on site under this policy, the applicant has proposed 100% of the rental residential floor area to be secured market residential units. The application proposes 2 19-story buildings, each with a height of 64 meters, with rental residential above commercial and office space. A total FSR of 4.68 is proposed, including 6,500 square feet of cultural amenity space to be delivered to the city turnkey. There are currently 5 street trees adjacent to the site. The application proposes over 100 trees, which will contribute to reducing the heat island effect in the area. This project will create approximately 740 new on-site and off-site jobs. The application was submitted in August of 2021. The applicant team hosted 2 pre-application open houses. Further, a city-hosted open house on the Shape Your City platform saw 260 participants. Staff also met with the Strathcona Residents Association. Respondents supported the inclusion of rental housing, retail, and arts and culture space. Concerns included the building size, local amenities, and lack of affordable housing. The Housing Vancouver strategy was approved in November of 2017 and seeks to shift the supply of new homes toward the right supply, with targets for new units along a continuum of housing types. This proposal of 262 units of secured rental housing make a significant contribution towards this target. The application proposes 262 secured rental units, of which 51% are proposed to be 2 or more bedrooms and suitable for families. This table illustrates that the average market rent in newer buildings on the east side of Vancouver is, and the household income which would afford that rent. As illustrated in this table, the cost of renting is significantly more affordable than average home ownership costs. This application will generate an in-kind CAC in the form of a cultural amenity valued at $5 million, as well as $14.7 million in DCLs and a public art contribution of $960,000. This application does not qualify for a DCL waiver. The cultural amenity is proposed in the form of a purpose-built shared artist production space and represents the first development to support making space for arts and culture, with the goal of no net loss of arts and culture space. The proposed uses meet the intent of the Falls Creek Flats Plan, as well as the rezoning policy and guidelines for the Falls Creek Flats. Staff recommend the application be approved with the conditions as presented in Appendix B. Staff are available to answer questions.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm just wondering now if the applicant team is here to speak to the application.
Mayor Stewart, the applicant is just coming to the podium and getting set up.
Great. Thanks so much. Staff, if you want to pull down your presentation, that would be great. Thanks.
Just a second. Just one moment, Mayor Stewart. We're just getting it set up.
No problem.
Can that be seen now?
Yes, it can.
Great.
Please, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Cameron Thorne. I'm Vice President of Development with Strand. I'm pleased to be here to speak with you tonight regarding our rezoning application for 456 and 496 Prior Street. We've been working with the City of Vancouver on repurposing this site for about 6 years, with the vision becoming more clearly shaped over the last 2+ years following key council decisions on the East-West Corridor in October 2019, and the rezoning approval in November 2019 of the St. Paul's Health Campus. We're excited to speak with you this evening regarding our proposal to transform an aging warehouse in adjacent city-owned building into a sustainable, mixed-use project that will deliver key benefits in health, housing, employment space, and culture. Due to the unique positioning of this site within the health hub area of Falls Creek, this project is ideally suited to serve as both a gateway to the health campus and as a thoughtful transition between the 24/7 operations of the hospital and the Strathcona neighborhood. Towards that end, the project features the following attributes. As mentioned earlier, there's 262 new rental homes to support the needs of the hospital and the surrounding community. Providing housing in close proximity to the hospital will support the operation and provide housing for its diverse workforce. There's over 245,000 square feet of medical office space and services, which will be key infrastructure to supporting the new hospital. There is some 500,000 square feet of medical office space around the existing St. Paul's Hospital on Burrard Street. The new hospital will attract existing doctors from the Burrard corridor, as well as new groups that want to be in proximity to this new health campus. It's critically important that doctors and specialists are not driving to and from their offices on Burrard Street to get to the new hospital. There's also over 14,000 square feet of retail space that will bring activity to the street and serve existing and future residents, as well as hospital staff and visitors. This could include a community-serving grocery store providing fresh and healthy food options. During the public engagement process last year, we heard concerns about the lack of grocery stores within our general walking distance, with some people referring to the area as a food desert. There's also an inviting courtyard mews and over 32,000 square feet of new green space and community gardens. This new green space will make a positive contribution to further reducing the heat island effect in the area. The pedestrian-friendly Courtyard Muse will further activate the site with features such as a community food market, small-scale retail space, such as coffee shops and eateries, as well as engaging directly with the cultural amenity space. A key feature of the site, fronting both Prior Street and the Courtyard, is the 6,500 square foot turnkey cultural amenity space that will promote and strengthen Vancouver's arts and cultural community. As noted by our planner, this is valued at $5 million and will be transferred to the city as a permanent public asset. I'd like to mention just briefly that Ernst & Young undertook an independent analysis as part of the rezoning application package that was submitted. And in brief, they noted that the new St. Paul's Hospital is expected to create a significant amount of demand for commercial space, both office and retail, in close proximity to the hospital. They also noted that the delivery of the space as proposed within our application will be critical to supporting the new hospital. In terms of support, I also want to acknowledge the ongoing support by Providence Healthcare for this proposal. We've worked collaboratively with Providence to explore the wide range of synergies that stand to exist between the campus and this site. Providence, in their letter of support, notes that this proposal and its proximity to the hospital will play an important role in the delivery of healthcare. I also really want to recognize the support from Eastside Studio for this project. We're pleased to have provided interim space for Eastside in the existing building, which enabled them to grow their organization into a renowned event production company. Finally, and as noted earlier, this site will also provide key land dedications critical to enable the construction of the road network serving the hospital and its emergency department. We're going to undertake numerous off-site improvements, including new bicycle lanes, sidewalks, intersection improvements, and a new traffic signal intersection immediately adjacent to the new hospital. We've worked collaboratively with staff over the last 2.5 years on this proposal, and I thank them and the Urban Design Panel for their constructive comments that will further refine and improve this project to the benefit of the city, the neighborhood, and the health campus. Now, I would have been turning the lectern over to Walter Frankel at this point in time, who's our project architect. Unfortunately, Walter found out he contracted COVID yesterday, and he's lost his voice. So Alan Prince from his office will make a few brief comments, as well as our sustainability consultants after that. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Council. My name is Alain Prince, and I am an associate with Frankel Architecture and the project architects for this development. The site plan. The site is fronted to the north by Prior Street, to the west by the extension of Dunleavy, to the east by Malkin Avenue, and to the south by the new Road A, the main access to the new St. Paul Hospital Emergency Department. The new Prior Venables collector that will front the project creates a logical transition point between the Strathcona neighborhood to the north and this site and the new St. Paul Health Campus to the south. The site has pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular frontage on all 4 sides. The street frontage of cultural, commercial, and retail space at grade will animate the streetscape. The ground plane is configured to enhance pedestrian porosity. An inviting and active public muse through the site provides landscaped open space open for both community and retail use. The articulated form of the 5-story, 65-foot-high podium presents a modest height and massing to create an appropriate transition between the greater height and massing of St. Paul Hospital and the Strathcona neighborhood. The podium steps back at the upper floor to improve the shading performance to the street and to further reduce the apparent building height. The entire roof of this podium would be landscaped as an amenity space with access for both office and resident tenants. The landscape roof would provide opportunity for extensive green roof, urban agriculture, children play space, as well as other fitness and recreational activities. The placement of the 2 residential buildings at the south edge of the site results in a substantial separation from the Strathcona neighborhood while minimizing shadowing. The towers are 55 meter, 180 feet, and 70 meter, 230 feet from the closest homes to the north. These buildings are also massed to respond to the angular geometry of the site. The two rental buildings are separated by an expanse of landscaped green open space at the roof level of the podium. The distance between the two buildings is 57 meters, 187 feet, more than double the minimum separation required by the city. The podium form ensures that the building meaningfully engages all 4 street frontage with retail, cultural, and office use. 2 centrally located office lobbies minimize corridor lengths, with one of the lobbies providing direct elevator access to an outdoor and outdoor office amenity space on the landscaped roof atop of the office podium. The asymmetrical design of the courtyard, coupled with the offset entries, will provide pedestrian connectivity while allowing for more quiet, intimate use of the outdoor area. The ground floor of the building is set back 5 meters from all property lines on all sides, and the addition of bike lanes and generous sidewalks around the site will enhance the residents' experience. Weather protection at main point of entry for all use and continuously along retail and cultural frontages would be provided. The parkade and loading access is proposed along Malking Avenue to minimize interaction with hospital-related traffic, including the emergency vehicles. By the nature of this site being surrounded by streets on all sides, all pickup operation for loading, garbage, recycling, passenger loading will be provided in the underground parking level to free up the ground plane for pedestrian-friendly open space. The project will include a new cultural facility of 6,500 square feet as a community benefit. The facility would be delivered turnkey to the city, fully fit and finished light industrial artist production space. The cultural amenity will also advance the Falls Creek Flats Plan goals of increased art and culture space. Located at ground level with exposure to the street and to the courtyard, the new artist studios will provide animation and activity to the development and will have great exposure for the artists. The public art budget for this development is estimated at $960,000. And now I will pass the stage to our landscape architects. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Daryl Tyke. I'm Principal of ETA Landscape Architecture. This slide is the overall illustrative site plan. So you can get a feel for the extent of green that we're adding to the site. Currently, it's nothing. It's rooftop and asphalt paving with all the rainwater going into the system. Here, we're going to have an opportunity to retain a lot of that. Next slide. Oh, I do it? Sorry. These are just a few precedent images that were inspirational and what we drew some of the or some of our inspiration from, if you will, for the project. Here's the slide that shows the before and then the proposed treatment. You can also see that there are 5 street trees currently, and if you're familiar with them, you know that they're pretty butchered. Those will be removed as part of the street realignment, and we have an opportunity to put in as many as 9 or 10 new trees in there to complement the hornbeams on the north side of the street.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Owen Hayes, and I'm here to speak about the sustainability aspects of this development. There are 2 major occupancies for this development: commercial office and residential. The commercial office will be designed and certified to LEED Gold standards. The residential component of the development will contain the following sustainable features: The entire site will be 100% low carbon electricity. There will be no natural gas on site. Plumbing fixtures will be low flow to reduce potable water usage. All building materials will be low emitting to enhance indoor environmental health. All mechanical and electrical systems will be commissioned to ensure systems are operating as designed. And there will be energy submetering and reporting to verify energy usage and carbon performance limits and troubleshoot building energy systems. There will be indoor air quality testing to verify it is safe for occupants to occupy the building post-construction. And zero waste management to reduce construction waste and optimize waste collection cycles, beg your pardon. The current proposed design for the development consists of an optimized building envelope with ventilation heat recovery and low carbon heat pump technology. This proposed design will be 70% better in terms of carbon emissions than the current VBBL and rezoning limits. This 70% saving is equivalent to 30 passenger vehicles being taken off our roads per year. The office ventilation system will consist of 2 levels of filtration to optimize indoor air quality, MERV 13 filters to reduce dust and particulate matter, and an active carbon filter to reduce chemical contaminants. The office portion of the development will consist of a rainwater harvesting system to collect rainwater from roofs and hardscapes. This will be then stored in a tank, which will then be used for toilet flushing. Through low flow fixtures and efficient landscape and irrigation systems, we will save the equivalent of 5 swimming pools per month, 60 swimming pools per year in terms of water usage compared to current code. In terms of climate resiliency, we will have the following. We'll have the following features. All entry points will be above the floodplain level. On-grade and raised assembly points for earthquakes and extreme flooding scenarios. Protection from wildfire smoke by equipping central air handling units with active carbon filters. Drinking water points will be available at grade for power outage scenarios. And we'll have drought-resistant plants and extensive green roofs to reduce heat island effect. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your presentation. Now, Council, is your opportunity to ask questions to both staff or the applicant. And I have Councillor Swanson on the list first. Councillor Swanson, 5 minutes for questions. Might be on mute.
I have some questions for the applicant.
Cool.
Will this be a pet-friendly? Will there be pet-friendly buildings?
Hello, Councillor Swanson. Great question. Yes, it will. We've built quite a number of rental buildings already in the city of Vancouver, and they're all pet-friendly. And I can tell you from living in one of them myself that I think it brings joy to the residents, and we're happy to have it.
Okay, thanks. Are you planning on getting senior government financing?
That's a good question, and it's early days. We have had some preliminary discussions with BC Housing about opportunities that might be available, and we'll continue to explore that. And so the answer is yes, we're going to look into it further.
Okay. Will you have air conditioning in the rental units?
That is another really good question. I can tell you that certainly we've been cognizant of climate change, and we know what happened last year with the heat wave. So we are actively working with our team to look at options that will enable mechanical cooling of the units.
Like heat pump type cooling, you mean?
Yeah, mechanical cooling. There's different technologies out there, and so we are looking at mechanical cooling as an option.
Okay, so usually when we do these rentals lately, we're getting 20% affordable, and we're not getting any affordable here. It looks like the lowest income you can have for a studio is about $64K a year. So is there any way we could get you to beef up the affordability in here?
Well, I tell you, going back to the early conversations with staff and the discussions about public benefits, the focus, given the location of the site and given the long arts and cultural history in Strathcona, the clear focus in terms of a priority public offering was cultural amenity space. And as the planner noted earlier, this is a first in terms of some of the space that's being delivered here, 6,500 with a $5 million value, which actually was, even in terms of looking at sort of the ideas about a CAC that would be generated, I think it was acknowledged by staff as well that it was a generous offering. So we recognize there's a spectrum of public benefits that the staff and the city may wish to see a project offer. In this case, it was the cultural amenity space. That said, just for context, I'll also let you know that we're going to be delivering new concrete rental homes, and when you look at the costs are the same as if we were building one in, say, a different part of the city, concrete, rebar, drywall, etc. But if you look at the rental rates that would be payable to somebody living in one of these homes relative to the same home in other parts of the city, the people living in these homes would enjoy a relatively less expensive, a lower rent than other parts of the city. So in that sense, it is affordable in terms of a quality of a living experience.
You mean just because it's on the east side instead of the west side, the rents would be lower?
Well, yes. I mean, there is a. I mean, in terms of the quality of the living experience, as I say, the fit and finishings would be virtually the same, but they're going to be paying less because of where the building is situated.
Okay, thanks. That's good.
Thank you, Councillor Swanson. Councillor Kirby-Yung, up to 5 minutes. Staff or the applicant questions, please.
Yeah, thank you. I'll direct my question to the applicant, and a couple of mine were answered already with respect to cooling of units as well as the cultural amenity. So I'll move on to another one, and that was really with respect to the mitigation measures in terms of the reference to the floodplain, and you mentioned building above, and it struck me when council had the discussion with respect to the St. Paul site, and I had colleagues that voted against that because of the floodplain. So I'm wondering if you have comments on that, or what concerns you had, and if you feel the mitigation measures were, in your mind, sufficient. Did that give you any pause?
One of the to sort of give a little bit of context to the site, the road network is of course St. Paul's Hospital campus was approved in principle in 2019, and so that road network that we're a part of was developed through the city with some of its I guess consultant teams, and so they basically set the building grades as part of the road network design in that area. So we certainly work to the designs established by the city. And so, if the whole area is being brought up in grade, we obviously are going to meet those grades. Certainly our architect can probably talk with more technical authority on how that was done, but certainly we planned for that at an early stage because we knew what the design grades would be.
Okay, and how did that impact you in real terms? I mean, was there anything sort of that you had to do really significantly or differently that was challenging as a result on this site?
I mean, I think there's probably I don't know, Alan, is there anything you can speak to on that?
Thank you for the question. One way that we address the issue, again, if we have located the parking entrance on Malkin, and this is kind of half block between Pryor Street and the Road A. So this is where our parking entrance would be at an elevation of 6 meters. Right now, I think the existing floodplain in Vancouver is still at 4.6. We've done some project that the city has asked us to do a 4.8 meter floodplain. I think they're trying to get St. Paul maybe a little bit higher, but our lowest elevation for the west building would be 5.2 meter ground floor elevation. The west building would be at 6 meter, and the courtyard would be around the 6 meter. So we are quite a bit further up because we're located north of St. Paul. So just by the location of the site, we have we're higher than the St. Paul Hospital. So.
Okay, just by nature of the required heights as well as okay, that makes sense. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Carr. You're up next.
Yeah, thanks very much. Just a few questions. The first one is there was a comment that was made earlier about whether or not, I think it was by Councillor Swanson, whether or not the building will be cooled. My understanding in your presentation to the applicant is that you said that you would be using heat pumps. Heat pumps do cool in the summertime. They're a cooling in summer, air conditioner, and a heating system in the winter. Are you going to use heat pumps? Because that would be the solution.
I'm going to turn this question to our mechanical and sustainable expert who can speak with more eloquence on this, but he'll respond to that question.
Yeah, there will be a heat pump technology used for the office portion of the project, and we are exploring using heat pump technology for the residential portion, but that design is currently in progress.
Okay, so you're not sure yet about the residential. Yeah, okay, well, it certainly works well. Thank you. Second question. You talked about community gardens in the presentation. Are you referring to the community gardens that already exist at Strathcona, or are they going to be on-site community gardens?
Yes, yeah, good question. So in some of the visuals that you were looking at earlier looking from above, you could see that you've got a podium level that's 64 feet from the ground. You've got a podium level, and on that podium level is where we're going to be providing community gardens, so garden plots along with edible landscaping for the residents of those rental homes to be able to do gardening on that location. It's part of because of the site size. One of the policies that was applicable is the Sustainable Large Sites policy. So there was a number of things that were as part of that we worked towards. So one of them was the identification of a number of food assets. So the community, the garden plots or community gardens were part of that. The other thing, just out of interest, to give context, was a community food market that will be accommodated in the courtyard for obviously not just people that are living there, but anybody that's walking through there, residents in the area. And then we're looking at a third food asset right now. We've had some good conversations with the social planner on this topic, and one of them, just again out of interest, is looking at small scale indoor urban farming, which is farming that would allow for the production of herbs and microgreens, lettuces, and other fresh products that could be for direct sale to the local restaurants or grocery stores in the area. So there's a lot of, it kind of comes back to the earlier point I made before too, about the fact that when we engaged with the community, the observation, the concern was raised that there really isn't a lot of options at the present time for people to find fresh, healthy food. And so these food assets will help, as well, again, our ongoing interest in a grocery store on the site as well.
Excellent. Yep, all those are good things. My final question, again for the applicant, it looked in the visual that you displayed that the building heights appeared to be at the same height as surrounding buildings. Now, I'm not sure if you were portraying in any accurate way those buildings, whether those were sort of the False Creek Gateway community, or were they the actual heights expected at the St. Paul's development. Anyway, it looked like they were the same heights, but I'm not sure what if it was actual buildings that are being projected as the surrounding buildings.
And I certainly can have our architect speak to this. I know that when we did, part of what, in terms of our ongoing discussions with staff, was trying to look at the context for what was going on around there. So to the best of our abilities, we did, using some shared files with the architects from Providence, for example, looking at the massing of the health campus behind us. And some of those buildings, I suppose, haven't been fully dialed in terms of their ultimate design. But I think given the amount of density that was approved by council for that site, there's going to be, large play institutional buildings that are going to be to the immediate south of our site. I mean, one of the things with the approach to how we set the buildings on the site, in addition to providing the large horizontal separation from Prior Street residents, was to try and provide a screening from, as viewed from the north, a filtered view, if you will, to the large institutional buildings behind. And so I hope I answered your question, but we try to accurate.
That was good, and I am out of time, but thank you. So you have answered my questions.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Councillor Carr. And that's it for questions to staff or the applicant. Now we're going to move on to hearing from the public. We have, I think, 11 speakers. The number to call is 1-833-353-8610, code 106-1445#. And the first person on the public list is speaker number 1, Michael Thomas Conlon Sisney.
Okay, do I just, I've never done this before, so you have to.
Yep, please go ahead. Just up to 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm a headless voice speaking to you from here remotely, right. But you have up to 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Okay, and I think I had some presentations as well, like we're supposed to be set up.
Before I start your clock, I'll ask the clerks if they have a presentation to pull up.
Yeah.
It's
okay. All right,
there
great.
now, Marisur.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I'm going. I think I've got my 5 minutes. I'm going to start now. Is that right? Okay.
Please go ahead. Yep.
Okay. Hello. My name is Michael Conlon Sisney, and I live in the 600 block on East Georgia Street in the Strathcona neighborhood of Vancouver. And let me state for the record, I support the Falls Creek Flat Area Plan 100%. I really do love it. Wouldn't change a thing. So I'm confused as to why this standalone project, the polar opposite of the plan's design intent and zoning, is being presented as if it were a legitimate proposal to be seriously considered. Based on my research and understanding, the proposed Strand development application for 456 Prior Street is not consistent with the area plan's current zoning and cannot legally be altered by this council or anyone else, nor meets the plan's intent for the site as a transition between St. Paul's Hospital and the residential area of Strathcona. What is being presented before you at this public hearing agenda is worlds apart from the Shape Your City version presented to the public for review and discussion. Most of the information we can read here for this meeting in item 1 is new to the public. What we were given to discuss instead, slide item 2, was a site with one stakeholder, Strand Development, Zone 1-3 Industrial, and that the zoning request for a 210-foot building with a 4.68 FSR is in accordance with the Falls Creek Flats Area Plan. This is not true. The city planning staff reinforced this lie in answers to me in the 456 Prior Street open house last fall. For example, item 4, right? Yeah, item 4, slide. Okay. Let's see. My question, answered my question asking how a 210-foot tower could be allowed in residential Strathcona was disingenuously answered with a description of all the time and effort and extensive public consultation that went into the flats plan creation. Slide. Yes, it's an excellent plan, and unlike the Broadway plan, enjoys local community support, including myself advocating for it. The problem is that the project bears no relation to the current zoning, which calls for a long, low Strathcona-oriented residential block with a maximum height of 100 feet with a 3.0 FSR if it includes 1.0 of employment space. The application works very hard to attach itself instead to St. Paul's Hospital and its zoning height mass with no plausible justification for being part of the hospital complex or its zoning. The hospital zoning has a height and mass that is unimposed because the trade-off is providing a public service for the greater good. The City of Vancouver has a social contract with the public, and you as our elected officials have a duty to honor the agreement currently in place. We already had a public hearing deciding what we would build on the site in September 2017, slide, and it passed into law on October 3rd, 2017, stating unequivocally how tall and how wide a building could be on this site, slide. What we agreed to was having a horse in our south pasture, but the city instead has delivered an elephant, insisting that this is what we agreed to all along. I'm not buying it. They're not the same thing. The developer and City of Vancouver logic stating land use alone meets intent of the plan is just as absurd. Just as the road alignment justification is. I would also take issue with the fiction being presented here that the neighborhood of Strathcona border is north of Pryor. It is typical of this entire proposal's bending and twisting of the truth. The residential area of Strathcona, south of Pryor, directly to the east of this project, is being ignored as if it doesn't exist. Most egregious, in my view, is how this project was created in a Star Chamber setting to rewrite history and be inserted into the Falls Creek's flat plan as if it was a current zoning for presentation to the public. As you can see in items 7, 8, and 9, slide. Strand and his two silent partners, Providence Healthcare and the City Planning Department, appear to have colluded in order to financially gain and no other reason to have this project move forward.
Just to remind you not to impugn anybody's reputation here. We're definitely welcome to hear your comments, but
okay.
I think colluding is a bit strong.
Well, I said it appears to collude.
Okay, still a bit strong.
Well, anyways, I stand by it. This is, in my personal opinion, both an abusive process and a conflict of interest. I've read the letters of support for this project, and they may be surprised to hear we are on the same page. I support a residential commercial project. I support the plan. What I am opposed to is having the democratic process and a plan that was passed into law in October 2017 and decided upon through extensive community consultation, hijacked for no other reason than financial gain. Bottom line is the evidence gathered in this case could potentially keep this project in the courts for years, and I'm hopeful common sense and a common purpose to move the plan forward as agreed prevails instead. Mayor and Council, I oppose this project. Please outright reject this application for 456 Pryor Street. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much. Just on time. I don't see any questions for you, so I'll thank you so much for coming in to present. And I will go to the next speaker. Thank you. The next speaker is speaker number 2, Tori Groening.
Yes, speaker number 2 is just coming to the podium.
Great. Okay, thanks very much, Clark.
And speaker number 2 is ready, Mayor Stewart.
Great. Thank you very much. Speaker number 2, please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hello, Mayor and Council, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'd like to bring attention to the in-between time, the transition between now and the big project, the hospital, everything. We live right across the street from the building that's now abandoned, which was the White Monkey Studios. And the tenant has been out for a few months, and since then it's been abandoned. And there's been all kinds of vandalism and graffiti, and we've had a very tough time with that deteriorating. And I thought that it was Strand that should step up, but they're not in control of it until it gets a bit further along. So I would just kind of ask you, and also just be aware that abandoned buildings like this, directly behind our house, on the other northwest corner, which was a privately owned corner, it also was abandoned for a while. It became inhabited and burnt down, and then it was completely cleared with proper fencing around. So what's happening now with this abandoned property is it's in that in-between time, and the city is in control of it, and I don't think doing a great job. I mean, I'm trying. I mean, it's been 311 so many times, and asking for the vandalism to be looked at. There's weird fences, they get knocked down. I've asked, I've begged, just give me the paint, or I'll go and paint the building, or I'll arrange to have someone do it, or, do something about this intersection. And so I'm generally in support of the new project. I think we could actually have more housing. And we absolutely need to attract housing for medical staff. I'm one of the unlucky 1 out of 5 British Columbians and Vancouverites that has to go through serious medical care with a walk-in clinic because I don't have a GP. So absolutely I support, we need to attract doctors, we need to attract medical staff that want to live in Vancouver and can afford to. We also need to have housing. I mean, none of us can walk down Hastings and look at that and not just be heart sickened by it. I mean, there's people that are, it's not just homeless people, it's people that are so sick and ill. It's not another SRO or it's not another hotel we need to take over. Some of these people need better and bigger help than that. They can't negotiate a doorknob. There's people that are so in need of help. So I think every single development that happens across our city, we need to think about that. So I'm like the opposite of a NIMBY, not in my backyard. I'm a YIMBY, yes, in my backyard. Absolutely, we need more housing. So every time we talk about this, I'd like to have medical staff in the room. All these decisions need to be based on just this heartbreaking scene that we all have to deal with. But in any case, today I wanted to just bring attention to that time in the transition, because that's when, you know, the people that are living here and the residents, we really suffer. So I'd like to just offer my help, be a good neighbor. If I can help with that, you know, come and talk to me. We're here, and, you know, we welcome you to the neighborhood. And while that is still owned by the city needs to step up and look after that. We've had arson in abandoned buildings, terrible situation on the other side of the hospital where that one was burnt down, and directly behind us. So it does happen. Thanks for attention. I know it's a big project, but I wanted to be here. Just, you know, we're here in the neighborhood, living here, and you know, it's going to take another 3 or 4 years, or however long it all happens. And in that in-between time, we need help too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You do have a question from Councillor Swanson. Councillor Swanson, up to 5 minutes, please.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming in to speak. I'm just wondering if you think that some of the units in this new building should be for the people that don't have homes that you talked about on Hastings Street.
I think that there should be more, and it shouldn't be limited. Maybe there's room for another tower. Maybe we can go the other way. But I mean, is it up to a developer like Strand? This is specialized housing. This is not just a little room with a bathroom. There's people that need way more than that. And what better of a place right near a hospital? So I don't really think it's a developer's. I mean, do they have the expertise and the money to fund that? Maybe a bit of that land stays with the city, and it's not, maybe civically we can't do it. Maybe it's provincially we can't even afford to do that. But I mean, look across the country. Is there a city that is more pitiful? Those 6 to 8 blocks on Hastings? Just, I mean, everyone just go there. You know, when I went down there looking for stolen property, and I parked and the police tell me, get back in your car. You're not going to find it. Get back in your car. Like, even a citizen, we're not even safe to walk there. And there's such suffering. So I don't know about the ones existing, and can that coexist? I don't know. But I think it's bigger than trying to give that to someone that's making residential and office. It's a big, important. Yeah, I think it goes beyond what's offered here.
So the way it works is the city lets the developer have extra square feet, and then in return for that, the developer has to give the city something. In this case, it's a space for art and culture stuff. So I'm just wondering if you think it would be better if that space was used for housing for lower income folks.
You know what I'd like to bring into the conversation? A very important word. And do I have to choose? Does it have to be art and health? Can I have a GP and can I also have a studio? I want both. No, I won't put one. I mean, art is important.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Swanson. That is it for questions for you, Speaker. Thank you so much for coming in tonight and sharing your perspective. I am going to move to speaker number 3 now, who's Karen Litsky. Speaker number 3, Karen Litsky.
Yes, the speaker is just coming to the podium.
Thank you, clerks.
And seems to be ready.
Great. Thanks for coming tonight. You have up to 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Okay, thanks. I don't see a clock, so I'll just have to hope for the best here.
You're right on the podium.
My name is Karen Litsky. Oh, thank you. My husband and I have owned and lived in a single-family home in Strathcona for 30 years. I am opposed to the proposed design for this Prior Street development. How opposed am I? Let's just say if I had my way, this site would add some new houses to Strathcona, along with some attractive low-rises stepping up to the hospital. That said, I'm not opposed to a nice-looking high-rise in the right place, but this is neither nice-looking nor in the right place. By way of brief overview, my objections are it's too big with an unfriendly face and street presence, too much shadow, inadequate setback, aimed at the credentialed class, thus fails to address the shortage of desired affordable housing, kind of ugly and unimaginative, and of course, it does not comply with the plan. By deviating from the plan, this proposal makes a mockery of the whole concept of planning, including that for Broadway. But even if it were compliant with the False Creek plan, which it is not, this also makes a mockery of the sacrifices that Strathcona homeowners make for heritage design. Strathcona is pretty, and it's pretty because there are draconian constraints in place on both renovations and new building design. The city does not have a reputation for being as friendly to home renovators as it is to developers anyway, but in the context of putting this project in Strathcona, the contrast is particularly stark. Some of us cannot stand upright in parts of our homes due to those charming required peaked roofs. Others keep living in cramped, cold, gloomy, or leaky and moldy houses, even suffering skin rashes and allergies because the city constrains new design to the point where the losses of development or renovation often outweigh the gains. We can't even build a useful outbuilding. Add the constraints of 25-foot lots to heritage design, and Strathcona owners have far fewer options than most owners in the city for pursuing pleasurable use of property. And now, after participating in a planning process and welcoming the hospital, they are to have their noses rubbed in it that the rules don't apply to other people. This design is an egregious slap in the face to Strathcona residents. It says, haha, you can't build like this, but we can. This is a subtle but pernicious toxin that this proposal brings to the neighborhood that exacerbates the physical negativity. So I would suggest that if you accept this proposal, heritage and other constraints need to be lifted for redevelopment in Strathcona. It will, and I speak a bit tongue-in-cheek here, resolve the design tension between this building and Strathcona when other owners along Prior can start building oversized fortresses on their side of the street. On another note, I was delighted that Vancouver Sun columnist Douglas Todd wrote just this week about the effect of community amenities on development permits. Todd revealed how chasing CACs has, in effect, increased homelessness. And because it has increased homelessness and its associated costs, there are no net savings of getting things built by developers that the public can build for itself if it wants them. In fact, there is likely a net cost, including the cost of shade from towers we don't want. Todd's article showed that successive councils have been seduced by shiny things that don't achieve the necessary goals of land use policy. And I think this building falls into precisely that same trap. I don't mean to shame or demonize whoever came up with this proposal or allowed it to get to this point. Even a bad idea can be a useful starting point for good design. The trick is to not get stuck implementing a bad idea, which this building is. It literally has nothing to recommend it. There is such a thing as stylish tower design, and in both towers and podiums, small can be beautiful. Strathcona being an artistic community in a heritage enclave, a proposal for this site should exemplify the art of design. Let's start over by declining this proposal. Thanks very much.
Thank you for your time this evening. I don't see any questions for you, so I am going to move to the next speaker. Thank you. Next speaker is Timothy Brar, speaker number 4, Timothy Brar.
Hello, my name is Timothy Brar, and I live in Strathcona Union Street. I'm in full support of the proposal on 405 Prior Street.
Speaker, you are
I know
you are cutting in and out a little bit, so perhaps you can move to a different location with your cell phone.
Okay, what about now? Does it sound better?
Yeah, that does sound better. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. I'm in full support of the proposal on 456 Prior Street. As a resident, I know that this neighborhood can use more rental and more retail options. I've seen some of the letters that others have written, and I do understand that they might feel that this is a big building that doesn't fit into the area. But you must see it in the context of the new hospital. Once the hospital is built, this won't feel out of place. My perspective is that what's on this property today is a warehouse, and it could be about 250 rental apartments and new shops. We have a chance to give this part of the neighborhood a real injection of energy. I think that's a good thing. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. I don't see any questions for you, so just want to thank you for sharing your perspective this evening. Next, we have speaker number 5, Milan Stamos.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm commenting in support of this proposal on Prior Street and want to share why. I live close to this area on Jackson Ave and have for many years, about 15 years. Unlike some of my neighbors, I'm looking at what is good about this proposal and how it can be an asset to the community. Overall, I support new rental housing. Rentals are at an all-time high, and office space, especially since then, will be next to this hospital, which we also need. What's more important to me as someone who lives here is more shopping options. I see that there is a good amount of retail space in the location. I really hope that the developer will be putting in any type of grocery stores, specialty stores especially. There are a few small places to get specialty foods nearby, but not all of us can carry a lot of groceries back from Chinatown, where the nearest TNT is. It'd be nice to have something that serves more of the Strathcona neighborhood and kind of builds character and makes us a more of a walkable community instead of somewhere where we have to go everywhere within cars. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your time. I don't see any questions for you, so I'm going to move to the next speaker. Thank you so much for participating tonight. The next speaker is Dylan Abram, speaker number 6. Dylan Abram.
Hello?
Hi there. Yeah.
Hear me?
Hi. 5 minutes whenever you're ready. Dylan Abram, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So, as you mentioned, my name is Dylan Abram, and I currently am renting a home in Strathcona, just off of 740 Union Street. So, as a renter, I know it can sort of be difficult to just find an affordable place to live in Vancouver. Rents have seen a jump year after year, so every year it is getting a little bit more difficult. I've had a few apartments over the year, and when they're not really in a managed building, you're completely at the mercy of an individual homeowner. You start to ask yourself questions whether they like you, whether they'll fix something if you ask them to, will they sell the house? Do they need the apartment for someone in their family, and will they decide to kick you out at some point? It really doesn't make anyone feel secure. I love the neighborhood, I love Strathcona, but it's really just not easy to find rentals here. And so much of the area is just constantly made up of houses. People often hold on to their apartments that are falling apart just because they really fear that they can't really find anything better in the area, at least on the market. I know this development would provide apartments for hundreds of new tenants, especially close to a transit station, so I fully support that. I know there are discussions around the Broadway plan brought up about existing tenants being displaced through redevelopment, and I do feel like the builder should definitely take that into account before they decide to build it. But properties like this should be redeveloped, and I just want to thank you guys for your time.
Thank you so much for your time tonight. I don't see any questions for you, so I will move to the next speaker. Next speaker is, I think, speaker number 8, Matt Vidal. Matt Vidal.
Hi there.
Hi there.
So
Up to 5 minutes, whenever you're ready. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah, my name is Matt Vidal, and I'm calling in to offer my support for the Prior Street project. Just a little background on myself. I was raised here in Vancouver, but I've lived in several cities in the United States, as well as Victoria, and then back in Vancouver now. I do work in the healthcare field, more so on the policy and administrative side. I've spent time working in provincial government and with one of the regional health authorities as well. And so I've worked very closely with several medical professionals as well. So seeing a proposal like this I think it is very exciting, and I think it's encouraging because I definitely think there is a massive need for housing in our region, specifically tailored towards medical professionals, which would, I think, give the opportunity for folks to work and live in Vancouver. I think the health field right now, there's just a lot going on, both with frontline opportunities, government opportunities, both within the government and health authorities, as well as at the hospital site. I've seen this in other cities such as Denver, Colorado, where building a huge health campus and supporting new housing opportunities there has really afforded opportunity and for the community to thrive. I think that there are lots of good jobs for healthcare professionals in Vancouver, but finding housing is a major challenge, and it often forces people to either commute from a fairly long distance or forces people to look for work outside of Vancouver. I think if folks like myself or others in the medical professional field found housing opportunities close to the new hospital site, it would be a huge advantage, not only in attracting talent to the site, but also in supporting the community and neighborhood itself. I also wanted to mention that kind of cutting down on commute times and allowing the opportunity for folks to live and work in the same part of town would be really beneficial, not only for many individuals, but for the community as well. So I see this as a huge advantage for this project as well. So that's more or less what I wanted to add to this. I'm very much in support, and I think it's a really great opportunity to help a lot of people here. So thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you so much for your time tonight. I don't see any questions for you, so I am going to move to the next speaker. Thanks again for calling in. Our next speaker is Janice Salinas.
Hi.
Hi there. You have up to 5. Hi. You have up to 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Janice Salinas, and I just wanted to call in to share my support for the Prior Street project. I've spent the last 10 years working as a psychiatric nurse in Metro Vancouver, and I do like this proposal because it would provide over 260 new rental homes close to the hospital and other health-related commercial space. I think having good quality rental housing near hospitals is super important for healthcare workers like me. It's been a big problem in Vancouver for a long time, and I don't think it will get better until there is more housing near hospitals. To make it more clear, I have friends and coworkers who were born and raised in Vancouver, but have left the city to take nursing and healthcare positions in cities like Surrey and New West because there weren't good rental options in Vancouver, and nobody really wants to commute 2 to 3 hours a day. I think we work hard and make decent wages, but not having more rental housing is a problem that I think Vancouver needs to fix if you want to attract more nurses and other public service workers like teachers, police, firefighters, to Vancouver. So I really hope that you guys will consider fixing this problem by approving more housing for the places where you need nurses and other professionals to work. So I'm in full support of this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time tonight. Again, I don't see any questions for you, so I am going to move along the list. We have Melanie Pineda, speaker number 10, Melanie Pineda.
Hi.
Hi there. You have up to 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Melanie Pineda, and I wanted to call in to voice my support for the Prior Street project. I live and am raising a young family in East Vancouver. My family business does a lot of work in the downtown and Strathcona neighborhood. I like this proposal because I think it provides our city with a lot of things that we really need. First of all, rental housing for people who want to live in a great neighborhood like Strathcona but can't afford to buy. New job space next to the new St. Paul site, which seems logical considering all of the news articles published about how tough it is to find office space in Vancouver. Cultural amenity space that the city gets for a community that really needs it without having to spend our tax dollars on, and a project where people can live and work near transit and walk or bike to multiple nearby neighborhoods and not rely on using a car. Lots of people I know have been priced out of the housing market, but they still want to live in Vancouver in a great neighborhood as renters. I don't see this trend going away as we have lots of people moving to the city, so it'd be great to see a project like this move forward. The alternative is the site stays as an old warehouse, which quite honestly isn't doing much for the city. I think you should support this project to create more housing, again, more jobs, more job space, community space, and an opportunity, a place for people to bike and take transit from. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your time. I don't see any questions for you, so I just want to thank you so much for calling in tonight and sharing your perspective. I am moving to the final listed speaker, who is speaker number 11, Nancy Hill.
Hello.
Hi there. You have up to 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Hi, thank you. So hello, everyone. First of all, I just wanted to thank the speakers before me as they really showed compassion for the medical field as a registered nurse. So my name is Nancy Hill, and I live in Vancouver. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the 456 and 496 Prior Street. I work in healthcare at both St. Paul's Hospital and VGH, and I'm a renter in Vancouver. Many of my colleagues are also renters, and I know that 260 new rental homes next to the future St. Paul's would be really ideal for people like me and my colleagues as well. I probably don't need to tell you how hard it is to find a good home and to rent it in Vancouver. It is really challenging to find something that is nice, well-managed, and also close to work and transit as well. COVID also has made work for healthcare staff incredibly challenging. Our shifts are super long and more draining than ever, and hospitals are losing staff because of this environment. So the last thing that I want to do is to have a long commute home at the end of like a very long shift. So being able to live super close to the work would give me an extra time with my family and more to rest. I've also looked at other letters that have been sent in by neighbors, and I wonder if many of them own their homes, even though they probably also have a backyard to enjoy. While I'm also sure that they work super hard for their homes, there are still like so many people out there working just as hard as them who also deserve a place to live. I encourage you to think about the healthcare professionals in the community and help house them by supporting this development. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time. I don't see any questions for you, so I wanted to thank you so much for calling in tonight. Council, that is it for registered speakers, so I'm making my first call for any additional speakers. The number is 1-833-353-8610, code 1061445 #. Clerks, have we got anybody on the line or in chambers?
There are no speakers in the chamber, just checking online.
Thank you.
Yes, we do have one speaker on the line.
Great. Okay, thanks. Speaker, could you go ahead, let us know your full name and whether or not you're a resident of Vancouver?
Hi, is that me?
Yes, it is. I think so.
Okay, I'm Amy Walker, and I'm, pardon me, a resident of Strathcona for many years.
Go ahead.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
I'm
Yep,
seated.
thanks. Up to 5 minutes whenever you're ready.
Yeah, okay, great. And so I am a longtime resident in the neighborhood, and I also work with Earth and Cleaners with Sharon Callis, who she tends a couple of gardens in town, and one of them is in Strathcona, adjacent to the hospital site, and that's an environmental learning garden. And so I have talked as well with Sharon, and so I'm going to represent for Earth and Cleaners as well in my comments tonight. We feel that the excessive height of the towers is an issue, so that has been commented on by really well by Michael Sisme and also Karen Litschke, her neighbors. So I just want to echo their sentiments. I'm really impressed by the testimonies, the speaking that they did. So the height of the towers, for number one, some people may be familiar with Jan Gehl, who is a renowned urban planner, architect, and he calls this type of very high towers like a bird shit architecture. It looks good in the planning stages as a maquette or as a model, but really when you live next to it, it creates a sense of alienation. What we need is more missing middle. We don't need more towers in this neighborhood. So let's have more row housing, like the beautiful row house that I live in, where we get to, have a modest living space and then a shared backyard where we get to have like easy socializing with our neighbors. Another issue in this proposal, which I'm opposed to, in case it wasn't clear, is the listing of the rental units as market housing, when I think everyone is aware that market housing rates are out of reach of regular working people today. And this is, we're currently in a crisis, a housing crisis. So the argument has been made that the building will accommodate hospital workers, but one thing we wonder about is, will those who are mopping the floors and those who are emptying the bedpans, will they be able to afford to live here? It seems as though the answer will be no. Another point to consider in this case is the green space, the rooftop green space that is part of the proposal would be only accessible to anyone who is a key holder in the building. And so we're concerned about the overloading of the neighborhood's existing green spaces. And we're wondering if there are, like the suggestion that there would be a heavy load on community centers and schools, that the green spaces and parks are also an issue that needs to be addressed with introducing this many new units in these towers. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for calling in tonight. I do appreciate you participating. Clerks, I'm going to make my second call now. And is there anybody online or in the chambers for this item?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. Thanks. What's your? Can you give us your first and last name and whether or not you're a resident of Vancouver?
Hi there. My name's Katie Lewis, and I am a renter in Vancouver. I'm the vice president of the Strathcona Residents Association. I actually didn't want to call in today, but I heard some inaccuracies, so I felt like I needed to. I guess at the end of the day, when I'm reviewing this, I want more rental housing in our neighborhood, a lot, and I think there's an absolute desperate need. But I guess some of my concerns are the height of the building, particularly since it's double the Falls Creek Area Plan, which was created with the view of kind of having a step down from the hospital into Strathcona. I've spoken to some residents that live on Pryor. Most of those are renters as well. And in fact, the shadowing graphics that were done were so inaccurate, they had to be redone. So, I'm not one to complain about that stuff, but it is, has a really kind of fortress imposing view to it. And I don't think it really fits with the character of the neighborhood, but those aren't really, the height is a huge concern for me, but what really struck me was when it was described that the neighborhood is well served by childcare and community centers. I'm a parent of two 7-year-olds, and I sit on the board of the Strathcona Community Center. We are not. We are still on the wait list for after-school care. It's been about 4 years. There is almost no childcare in Strathcona. And as many of you know, the Strathcona Community Center is in absolute dire need of an upgrade. And it's very small. So that's wrong, quite frankly. The school was full capacity this year because Strathcona often serves as an overcapacity school for all the other neighborhoods where people can get their kids into school. I appreciate the idea that many healthcare workers could use this as rental housing, but I also think about the people that actually live in our neighborhood and some of the poorest people in the city. And I would like to see some of this building be affordable. As for the community food market, there is a community food market zoned 1 block away at Hawks and Pryor. And I think when I really examined the plans, what really struck me was many of these amenities seemed really nice, but they were only available, they were for private use. So they would be for the renters in the building, not for the public. That included all the sports areas and I hear things like, maybe we'll get a grocery store. That would be something that would be absolutely welcomed by the community. But when I hear maybe, I question if it would actually happen. I just think we should demand more as a community, and I think city councilors, you should demand more. We've lost 20,000 square feet of artist studios, and now we're being offered 6,500 square feet with a very vague description of cultural amenity space. When we pressed for more details, we were given no answers. And in fact, the entire process, we have felt certainly that we were put off and really not given any kind of clear answers to our questions. And overall, I think a lot of community members, as you can see, we had 55 people sign our letter with concerns. So I think what we're saying is not no, but I think we're saying that this could be a much better plan. And I think the community deserves more, quite frankly. Thank you.
Thanks for your time. I don't see any questions for you, so I will just say thanks so much for calling in tonight. And I'm going to check with the clerks. I'm going to make my third and final call for speakers. However, we've Councillor Dominato. I've been checking with the clerks, and I believe Councillor Dominato has just joined the meeting. Am I right, Councillor Dominato? Are you there? I don't see clerks. I don't see Councillor Dominato on the queue. Okay. I thought Councillor Dominato was here, and she's not here. So, Council, we are going to take 5 minutes for my third and last call for speakers. Then we'll come back and finish this item. Thanks. We'll see you at 8:15. Hi, Council. I'm just going to check with the clerks now. If you guys can come and turn on your videos. Clerks, have we got anybody else in the chambers or online?
No one in the chamber.
Okay.
And no one online.
Great. Okay, thanks so much. So we're going to close the speakers list. We're going to close the receipt of public comments. And now I'm going to go to the applicant and just ask if the applicant has any closing comments.
They're running to the podium, Mayor Stewart.
Okay, great. Yeah, no hurry.
No, I don't. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Staff, do you have any closing comments?
Thank you, Mayor Stewart. Staff don't have any closing comments.
Thanks very much. I'm going to go to council now. Any questions to staff? This is the time to ask questions to staff. Councillor Hardwick, I've got you on for 5 minutes.
Yes, please, to staff. We've heard that this does not align with the False Creek Flats area plan. It is inconsistent with the current policy for this site. Can you please speak to that?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Hardwick. The uses identified in the project do comply with the False Creek Flats area plan. The height proposed and the density proposed exceed what's considered under the plan. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hardwick.
And that's it. The height and density don't comply with the plan. My understanding was that there was an extensive process undertaken with the community to arrive at this plan, and one that was enthusiastically embraced. So how are we rationalizing deviating so significantly from the plan?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Hardwick. This is Kevin Spann, Senior Development Planner for the Metro Core. When the False Creek Flats plan was developed in consultation with the community, there was a little bit of a different context for the area. This site had a little bit more of an immediate adjacency with the Strathcona neighborhood and a pretty significant separation from the proposed, at the time, location, or I should say the generally endorsed location of the new St. Paul's Health Campus because of the Malkin alignment. The Malkin arterial alignment. With the removal of the Malkin arterial and the decision to reduce the capacity of Prior Street but use that as the arterial in the area, the building now has a more immediate adjacency with New St. Paul's Hospital, and staff felt as though a move that allowed for towers close to the hospital and low-story frontage toward Strathcona was an appropriate response to the change in the condition, in the context.
Are you aware that the Strathcona Residents Association submitted a letter articulating serious concerns about the application in the areas that we've discussed: excessive building height, massing and density, lack of transition to the existing residential neighborhood, vague community benefits, and concern about artist studios? Was there, again, since deviating so significantly from the community plan that was embraced by the community, what work was done to try and reconcile that with the Strathcona Residents Association and the community at large?
This application went through the same review, public consultation process that every rezoning application goes through. Further to that, it went to the Urban Design Panel for their review and input, which is, in spite of the fact that the public don't have the opportunity to participate in the UDP in terms of providing comment, they can attend and listen to the UDP's input. Furthermore, we review every piece of feedback we get from the community, and myself as an urban designer and architect value the input of the community and ensuring that that input gets reflected in the work that we do to ensure that new development reflects the values of the community, but then also acknowledges and anticipates changes to context.
So when was this consultation with the community done then? Over the pandemic?
I'll ask my colleague Liefke Vissers to respond to that.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Hardwick. The application was received during the pandemic. In addition to the regular consultation undertaken by most rezoning applications, this applicant elected to have 2 pre-application open houses, which were not required. Further, staff met with the Strathcona Residents Association and responded to all questions that came in from the public during the consultation process, in addition to a number of phone calls and video meetings with residents when requested.
So we met with them. Did we make any changes to reflect their concerns?
The form of development conditions take into account both feedback we received from the public, from the Strathcona Residents Association, and from the Urban Design Panel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other councillors on the queue for questions.
Happy to move the recommendations, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dejanova. Do we have a seconder? Anybody?
Second, Councillor Bly.
Thank you, Councillor Bly. We'll move to debate now. Councillor Swanson.
Yeah, I have concerns about this. It will be a gentrifying project. Will the retail takeaway business from Chinatown, the affordability of the rentals, there'll be expensive rentals. Will the janitors and the food service workers and orderlies be able to afford to live there? No. It'll be the ones who can afford electric cars, and janitors will still be driving the gas guzzlers to work. And it also doesn't seem right to me that CACs get calculated before we know if the applicant is going to get cheap senior government financing. Because if they do get this cheap financing, shouldn't we be trying to extract a few more public benefits? So those are my thoughts about it.
Thank you, Councillor Swanson. Councillor Fry. Oh, you're on mute, I think.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, so like this is literally my backyard. Like I live 2 blocks from here. I've lived in this neighborhood for over 3 decades, and there's been lots of changes, and by far the St. Paul's Hospital campus is the biggest change that it far exceeds anything we've seen in the neighborhood. And over the the 3 decades plus I've lived in the neighborhood, I've seen Strathcona change a lot, and I've seen a lot of renters get squeezed out, and some pretty profound changes just through land economics and people wanting to buy into a cool old heritage neighborhood. And that's, one of the big reasons I voted against the St. Paul's Hospital campus when it came to us was because, in fact, the hospital was not prescribing any public benefits for the neighborhood at all. The hospital was viewed in and of itself as a public benefit. And now we see, like right now, the Ivanhoe is being cleared out so that construction workers will have a place to live while they are working on the hospital. And the Cobalt's being cleared out. And there's real pressures, there's real serious gentrification pressures that the hospital's bringing without even being built yet. And when the hospital lands, it's going to put a ton of pressure. And as my friend and neighbor Katie Lewis pointed out, there is no childcare capacity, there is no school capacity. There's all these gaps that really weren't addressed. All that being said, this hospital or this particular project will deliver a need for housing adjacency for the nurses and the doctors and the well-paid hospital employees that can afford to live in this market housing, and relieve some of the pressure that I fear will further wipe out the existing affordable rentals that remain in Strathcona, because there still are affordable rentals in Strathcona. A serial rent-evictor that I'm not going to name has recently bought a couple of the purpose-built apartment buildings, including the Jackson, right here in Strathcona. And, we've seen his pattern of what he does when he buys buildings, and it's basically buy them cheap, fix them up, kick everybody out, and jack the rents. So I really worry that in the absence of any kind of lightning rod to take off some of this extreme housing pressure that this hospital will deliver onto my neighborhood of Strathcona, that it's going to further exacerbate the displacement of folks who live in my community and folks that I care about, that I don't want to see get squeezed out because suddenly their rental homes are in direct competition with people who can afford a lot more, and a valuation that will push them out of the market. So I will support this project because I think it fulfills that need for that rental housing that's critical to buffer and buffet some of the change that this particular hospital project is bringing to the neighborhood. I do appreciate that the ambiguity around the art space, I think, will actually land something that can serve the neighborhood, and I think it's, goes beyond what the policy prescribes. Again, this project is meeting the sort of general policy intentions that we do for purpose-built rental housing, and in lieu of the affordability piece. So I'll support this, but clearly, and this was part of the articulation when we were approving this. Again, I didn't vote for it, but when the St. Paul's Hospital campus came down the pipe, this was exactly the kind of concern that I was hoping we would mitigate through some more thoughtful planning around what the hospital campus will do. But here we are. And so I think, the project on its own merits is decent enough. There's a lot of neat stuff in there. But again, I think that we're going to have that critical need for rental housing in the immediate vicinity of the hospital. I'm very worried about what's happening at the Ivanhoe. I'm very worried about what's happening at the Jackson. I'm very worried about what's happening in a lot of the affordable rentals in the immediate community. That's a conversation, I guess, for another day. In the meantime, I'm going to support this.
Thank you, Councillor. We're going to Councillor Boyle next.
Thanks, and I'll just reiterate it.
Join. This conference will end in 5.
Okay, thanks, Boyle.
We'll
Sorry.
just reiterate a couple of those points. I, of course, don't know the neighborhood as well as Councillor Fry does, but am regularly visiting and cycling through, and have kept a close eye on this particular site, as I know many have, wondering what will happen here and how will impact the surrounding area. And like Councillor Fry said, we've all seen Strathcona change quite a bit over the last few decades, and people be priced out of the neighborhood. So to be able to build secure rental housing with no displacement in the neighborhood, I think does alleviate a bit of that pressure. It allows people to stay in the neighborhood or move into the neighborhood without pushing anyone out, who work nearby, who want to live there. That's valuable, I think. And again, as Pete said, the arts space will be greatly appreciated. Important conversation to be having, and I look forward to what results from that. So I also will support the project.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else on the queue for debate. So just going to read my little thing again, that any council member whose video is disabled will be marked absent for the vote pursuant to section 14.13 of the procedure bylaw. And with that, I will have the clerks trigger the vote, please.
Mayor, can I get a vote assist in favor, please?
Councillor Dominato, kind of surprised to see you. Have you been here through this process?
I have been online, and I've also asked the clerks for a summary of the speakers.
I am getting a note from the clerks that you're not eligible to vote at this point.
Just a point of procedure, Mayor.
I'm just going to work through this, Councillor, and I'll be right back with you. So the clerk advises me, Councillor Dominato, that we'll need to take a recess. Just make sure that you have the full summary.
That's fine, Mayor. Thank you.
Find that we should take a recess, or find that you don't need a recess?
I think a recess would make sense.
Okay, so we need
5 minutes would be sufficient.
I think they're suggesting 10, so I will. We'll need a motion to have a 10-minute recess to include Councillor Dominato.
Councillor
Councillor Bly.
So first, Councillor Dejanova, seconded by Councillor Bly. All in favor, yay.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay, so it's 8:30. We'll come back at 8:40 to complete this vote. Thanks very much. this vote. And
Okay, Mayor Stewart, do you wish me to take it to a vote?
I just want to make sure everybody's back online. Just
Okay.
I'm a little early. It's only 8:39. We have an extra minute, but it does look like everybody's online here. So
With
I think we can take it to a vote now.
So you're ready now, or?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
And that has passed council with councillors Hardwick and Swanson in opposition. Yeah, sorry, it has passed with councillor Swanson and Hardwick in opposition.
Mayor, I'll take a vote assist in favor, please, as I didn't hear the vote called.
We do have you voted registered as in favor, so that is that's the final vote with everyone accounted for. So council, that's it. We just need a motion to adjourn. We're ready to go.
Motion to adjourn.
I did see Councillor Hardwick.
Oh, Councillor Hardwick. Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor, yay. Opposed, nay? Okay, great. We're adjourned. Thanks, clerks, for everything. Thanks to the public and everybody who participated.